Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I'm going to work on a viewer request. They had asked me to diagnose the problem that they're having with their drag stack. The drag wasn't working. They went out and got replacement drags and it still wasn't working. It's on a Penn Fierce. And of course it's hard to tell by description what's the issue. So what I thought I would do today is just go over the Penn Fierce, show you how the drag stack works, what the proper sequence is, and how it comes from the factory. This is a new reel, so I'll, at the risk of avoiding a warranty, I'll go in and take this apart, show you the how it's set up at the factory, and then hopefully that'll enable them to put it back together again. So first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to take the whole spool assembly off so that I can show you how the stack itself works. And I start that by removing the handle, and you'll notice a couple of things. I use a parts tray, which is where that piece just went, and I also use a protective glove on my hand to keep some of the contamination out. So I would recommend, if you don't know this reel, go get the schematic for the reel. That would actually be a tremendous benefit when working on something like the drag stack, because it can tell you the sequence of the washers up top. So I'm thinking, without knowing, that the problem that they're encountering is that the drag washers are out of sequence, but it's hard to say, again, by description what's going on. So we're going to remove the whole spool assembly, including the axle. That's why I'm going down to the gear body here, just so I can show you how the drag system works, independent of the reel itself. So most of the drag systems are set up where it's a compression kind of a system. There's a mechanism to put pressure onto the drag stack, and the drag stack at some point will lock in with a main gear or the spool or something else to hold that steady. And as you compress down onto the stack, it will drive the tension onto either the gear sleeve or the axle shaft, and hold it into to the point where it doesn't turn. So there's 3 side screws that I'm in the process of taking out here. That will show us the internal workings of the Fierce, and you can see from the factory it comes with blue grease. It's pretty well lubricated there, but not over lubricated. And I know I talk a lot during my videos about don't over lubricate a reel. Well, here's a good example right out of the factory of how it's done. I'm going to take the 2 screws in the crosswind block off. That's going to free the axle or the spool shaft, and that'll enable me to come up top and show you the rest of this. So there's 2 screws. You want to note as you're taking wheels apart where they go and the size and the length and the like. So once you do that, you can pull the shaft off. So this is then the whole piece in terms of the drag system itself. The first thing I'm going to do then is remove the drag knob. Again, you can see how this one's worked. It's worked with blue grease up top for the drag washers. And underneath here is probably the most critical portion of all of this. There's the axle. There's a click rotor that lets you know that the drag is spooling in reverse. You'll see the little clicker here, and if you're going in reverse, you should hear the clicker, which lets you know that that there's work on it. And there's a Teflon washer here. Now, when you push all of this down, that Teflon washer and this is ultimately going to be where the pressure is to hold that spool in place and not allow it to rotate freely. So one of the things you want to check if your drag system is not working is not just the drags in the spool, but check to make sure that, in this case the Fierce, that you have that Teflon washer on there and that it's in good condition. Okay, the second thing then to note, sometimes the spools behind you have bearings in them. You just want to make sure that if they do, that you check for those. In this case, we just have a flat molded spool. And then we're going to take the drag washers off to show you the sequence of that. Now there's a spring in here that rides in a groove. And then there's a sequence here. So let me get a white paper towel here so that we can show you the sequence easier. So we have the spring came out. So this will be from top to bottom that we'll go do this now. You have that spring came out. Then we have a series here. These are felt washers. You have a round washer, a felt washer, and an eared washer. That's the middle one. Come back to that in just a moment. A felt washer, a round washer, a felt washer again, another eared washer. And as you can tell, as you get down below here, these washers are actually not greased, and they don't need to be. They can be oiled for felt washers. I'm coming around the bend here. So this is how it goes in: a round washer, felt washer, eared washer, felt washer, round washer, felt washer, second eared washer, felt washer, round washer, and felt washer. So sometimes if you put the metal one in first, you get a skip. If you misalign the eared washers, you get a skip. So these eared washers are important. I'm just going to use one here as an example. They ride in the slots here, and they actually prevent the spool from turning when you lock down. If you don't have those ear washers in there, if you just have the round washers, these round washers can spin even under the most clamp down pressure you can get. These can spin. You need something to hold that spool rigid, and that's the purpose of these eared washers. So to reassemble, and I'm going to assume that that's what they've done, you clean this out. Of course, this is a new reel, doesn't need to be. The first washer in then is that felt washer, and these can be oiled. Like I said, a felt washer I like to oil. I don't need to do it. I'm just showing you that as an example since this is a new reel. Then we go with the round, second felt, first eared washer. Sometimes they're called keyed washers or tabbed washers. Depends on who's doing it, I guess. Keyed, eared, tabbed, doesn't matter, just know that it exists. We're continuing to build. The next one was the felt, then the round, then the felt. Second one of the tiered eared washers. Top felt washer. Top round washer. And then the spring, and there's a little groove here, kind of hard to see here, but if you're working it, there's a groove here, and that's what the spring sits in, and it's a spring. So as you put that down, make sure that you're holding it similar to this as you go to reload, and then you want to just make sure all pieces are in, and they're not in this case. So I'm just going to go reload this. I'll make sure that I get that last leg in there before I go back down. There you go, and when you're done, it looks more like a triangle. So that's it. So now you've got a clean bottom, you've got a Teflon washer that's working there. Coming up the drag stack then. When you tighten this down now, you're pushing all of these together, and that's putting pressure onto that Teflon washer. The eared washer is preventing the spool from turning, and as you complete this run down, I don't think I'm completely set there. I'm not. There we go. So you should have, this should be proud here in terms of the actual piece of that. Now it works easier when this is in the crosswind block, but you'll notice if you're holding this, if you can't turn it, then you've got your stack is working well. Okay, back into the body of the reel then. You want to line those two up on your crosswind block, and you got to be careful here. This does not have an anti-reverse override, so if you're trying to work this reel and you wind up spinning, these two slots here are going to wind up under your main gear for the screws, and you're going to have to do a full rotation to get it back down again Something that a lot of manufacturers have done. They've chosen to get rid of the anti-reverse override, and that's because of that clutch bearing that they have in there now. It's not as easy as some of the other ways to override. So there's manufacturers that do it, but I think along the way they figured out there's not too many people that go to manual fight mode and backpedaling a reel, and they just eliminated it. And I know when they first started eliminating it, I got a lot from my customers. Oh man, why'd they do that, and so on. And of course, being inquisitive, I always ask them, do you really use it? And they don't. So I guess Penn and other manufacturers prove their point that there's not too many people that use it. I like it just because if I'm trying to work something and I just want to back it off a little bit, you can. In this case, you can't. So, okay. Last one on the side plate screws. And I'll put that little bump guard on and the handle on, and we'll just go test this to make sure that we got it right. So to the viewer who asked, something's wrong, what am I doing wrong? Hopefully that shows you just the way they came out of the factory, and how to put them back together again, taking some notes along the way about the way it should be done, and hopefully that'll get you back out there fishing again. So another question I get on these Fierce, you saw they were felt washers. It's not a bad technology. Some folks think that they went to felt to be cheap about something. It's not true. There probably are a couple of pennies less. There we go. So let's check this now. All right, so I'm turning with some pressure. If we tighten down again, yeah, now we're not moving it at all, and that's the way it should lock down, and then you can back it off with that. Yeah, so if you find that you're chewing up those felt washers, if you're dealing with some fighting fish all the time, and it's just chewing those up, or you're seeing premature wear, you can replace those with the Carbon Tex fabric washer. There are conversions available. I've seen them on smoothdrag.com as an example. I believe that mysticparts.com, which is a regional Penn Parts authorized distributor, that they sell them as well. So I would tell you, if you're chewing them up, you do have alternatives. I can't say that they're a one-for-one replacement. I don't know. I haven't done the conversion. But if you find that that's the case, then you can go ahead and order them and do that conversion for you. So that's it. That's the reel itself. That's how to do the drag stack on it. That's a little bit about how a drag stack works, and hopefully that solves the problem about getting the drags back on your reels. So with that, I thank you for watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.